Hey, this is June from Goldhand Drawings. Today's video is for people who need to buy some watercolor papers. This is quite important because watercolor paper is the supply you need to spend most money than brushes or paints. So I'll tell you the basic information so you'll have a better idea on how to choose the right paper for you. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'll be talking about these 5 subjects in order: binding method, weight, texture, cotton percentage, and color. So first things we need to talk about is how it is formed or bind, I guess. There are typically 5 types: sheets, blocks, spiral, sketchbook, and rolls. Sheets are, as you see, individual loose paper in a box or a cover. Since it's loose, you need to stretch it or tape it before painting it, or else it will warp and buckle. There are lots of loose sheets that has a deckled edges, and I personally like this finish because I think it looks pretty. And most of the loose sheets are cheap compared to the other types. Block is a stack of paper that is glued all 4 sides of the edges, so it prevents from warping and buckling. It's pretty convenient to use because you don't need to tape it. Usually blocks are blocked in a good quality paper, so the block itself is quite expensive. So when you need to take it out, there's a certain small area which is not glued together. Just use something like letter opener to stick it in and separate it from it. Spiral bind is just like typical spring notepad. It's quite convenient, but I personally only use it as a practicing watercolor. Because of this spiral, it's a little bit hard to stack to each other, and even have some problems when scanning because the paper doesn't get flat on the scanning surface. The 4th type is sketchbook, which is one of my favorite. I really like this thread binding method because it's really easy to keep it. And watercolor sketchbook opens 180 degrees, so there's no problem painting it. Only the downside is it's quite expensive. The last type is rolls. Rolls is one giant loose paper. You can cut it by yourself and use it like a loose sheets. I believe it's the cheapest than all the others I mentioned, but you can't just buy small amount. You have to like buy 10 meters or something close to that. So when you actually pay, it's something like $200 or $300. Now, second category is weight. We use grams in paper and it's written like this, and we say a GSM. There are lots of different grams: 210 GSM, 250, 300, 320. It just goes on and on. I guess this 300 GSM is the typical standard gram for watercolor. I mean, it doesn't mean under 300 is useless. If your style is very washy type like me, 200 GSM is also fine. All I'm saying is higher the GSM, it will hold water longer, meaning less warping and buckling, and it will give you enough time to do all sorts of watercolor techniques. Now the third one is texture. There are 3 types of textures in watercolor papers: rough, cold press, and hot press. Rough has the most roughest surface, so it can deal with water longer, giving you enough time to paint. But since the surface is rough, very detailed drawings or painting is very hard, and it's a little bit hard to apply water or paint on the surface. Cold press is something that most artists prefer. I think it has enough texture to hold the water and good enough to do detail work. The hot press has the most smoothest surface, which means it will dry quite fast, meaning water control is hard. I personally don't think this is for beginners like me. Since the surface is smooth, it quite often gives these edge stain marks, and water just flows everywhere. But the strength point is that after it dries, it turns out brighter than cold press or rough, and very fine detail works is possible. First, on the cover, if there's nowhere how much the cotton percentage is used, then it's a cellulose paper. Amount of cotton used varies a lot, 25%, 50%, 100. Higher cotton percentage means it will hold the water longer, which means it will give you enough time to paint. Also, high percentage will have better gradation effect, and when it absorbs the water, it also absorbs the pigment too, so the work will turn out brighter. On paper color, there are typically two types: white, or bright white or extra white, and off-white, which is traditional white or natural white. The color of the paper gives you different mood to your artwork. If you want your painting to be presented as a bright and clear, you should go for the bright white. If you want your painting to have some calm mood, then I guess you should go for the off-white. Okay, so this is it. Thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe and like my video. It means so much to me. And until next video, bye.